you can blow by some kind of misery, trauma, freak out, pattern, thing that you've been doing for lifetimes. You can blow by that stuff in one meditation. And you should be thinking about that. That's why, that's really why we're in a whole kind of post-therapeutic. And blow by, I mean, basically you can completely blow up the pattern. You can deconstruct the pattern. So it literally is no longer a part of your experience. Now, there are things that I would call a corpus of the pattern. So oftentimes you'll blow the thing up or by, you'll blow by it, and then because it's something you've been schmeagling for so many lifetimes, your little precious, neurotic thing, you'll have the kind of like feeling like, you'll be a little confused because and that's really common. You blow by it and then you're like, wait a second, was I neurotic about something? You'll feel like, you're kind of like trying to remember what you're neurotic about. Or you kind of, and then if you really concentrate on it, we're very good at this, you'll remember. You'll be like, oh yeah. Okay, I'm cool. I'm back. I remember what I'm neurotic about. And so you'll kind of remember the thing, but when you deconstruct it, it will never be the same again. So you may be able to still kind of, do a glory round with it. You might be able to, do a glory lap and still kind of get back into it because you still have the kind of muscle memory and the psychological and emotional memory of the thing. But the thing itself has been deconstructed. So it will feel strange even when you're doing it. That means that you're basically running the corpus of a pattern that actually no longer exists. Has anyone experienced that? Because that's a sophisticated thing. So you're kind of like, whatever the thing is, you're doing it, but you're just running through the paces, and you realize that it's like, you're like, okay, all right, I'm done. And sometimes you need to run that kind of victory lap with it. To realize that it no longer you just can't do it anymore. But I was saying in New York, like these kind of like food allergies and stuff, somebody sent me a meme and it was like this, it was like this woman in like a pop-up kind of tent, like sitting inside the tent on the side of a soccer field. And the meme said, guess whose son has a made up gluten allergy? It was a good one. So, there's the parents are putting all sorts of neurotic shit on the kids, and your parents did it too. It's not their fault. They were doing their best. But it's very clear. I mean, it's that obvious too. Like if you're one of these people that are carrying around weaknesses that, sometimes we do have illness and that kind of stuff. But a lot of times these ideas, these weaknesses are things we're carrying around from the parents. And it's literally that obvious as that meme. That's why I loved that meme. Because the kid, the food allergy people, it's like they had a parent that was like that. That was obsessed with weakness and not strength. Because if you do Sakri every day, you can blow by that shit quickly. Now that doesn't mean you need to be eating gluten at every meal, but you're not a handicapped person anymore. And these food allergies handicap people. I mean, I thought it was hilarious in Tibet. The first 4 days is like the food allergy people and the paleo people and the gluten-free people. And so the first 4 days it was like, I'm paleo, so I'm not going to have any. I mean, you're in Tibet. It's like every foot, in the Chinese carbohydrates, and the Tibetans carbohydrates. So there's a lot of options in that department. And so they also like MSG. And I had my phone with the translator that said I'm allergic to MSG, and I would be like, I am allergic to MSG. Do you see this? And they would be like, mm-hmm. And they just put it in there anyways. It's hilarious. So you're getting MSG poisoned. And there's just, this is what travel's good for the soul because of this stuff. And I read a bunch of blogs because I like to do research of people who made it through China without MSG, getting MSG, and it basically all you can eat is like bread. So if you're gluten free, good luck. So the first 4 days, like those people were like, at every meal, it was kind of like, yeah, so I don't really do that. I keep my net carb count under 10. There was just like, it was like, everyone kind of still had their shit together. We got like third, fourth day, we drug everybody up on this like horrible hike. That was almost 16,000 feet altitude. And it was like, this was like what you got, which was like a little can of oxygen. So it was like, okay, good luck, And everybody was like, so it was a big day. So by the time, you get past that, we're dragging everybody around, and when you get past that, it's like, there's only a couple things that are going to comfort you. And those things are called carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, maybe a little shopping. There's only a couple, there's a very short list in that kind of altitude because you can't sleep. You can't, it's very uncomfortable. And so there's only a couple things that are going to give you a little comfort. And so by like day 4.5, all of those people, I was like, we had stopped at like some side, not even like, this was what I loved about it. It was like, it wasn't even like a dignified carbohydrate. We had stopped at like a bathroom break, and there was like a weird little like noodle stall. And every single person who had told me that they were paleo and like gluten-free had like a bowl of kind of real sketchy Szechuan noodles. I was like, I wouldn't even eat those. Okay, good job, you guys. Here we are in Tibet getting over our neuroses. And everybody was fine, okay? Everybody was fine, right? So we gotta, this is kind of the capacity. You have these technologies where you can blow by this stuff really quickly. And I want you to be thinking about this because people are looking to you to, show them the way. On a low-key way, a high-key way, depending on where you're kind of, you may think that you can hide. My favorite story is Tage in the 70s was like sick of everybody looking at her. And so she was going out to dinner with her brother in Pomona, and she's like, I'm not wearing my turban tonight. I'm taking the turban off, and I'm just wearing my sweatpants. I just don't feel like everyone looking at me. And so she went to the restaurant. It was an Italian restaurant in Pomona, like some strip mall. She opened the door. She's like in a blue sweatsuit, no turban. She opens the door to the restaurant, and literally everyone stopped talking and turned around and looked at her. She was like, it was a very defining moment of like, oh, wait a second. They're not looking at me because I'm wearing a turban or they're looking at me because of the aura. And so even if you're kind of trying to like not be in a leadership, everyone's going to be looking at you. And so these are the kinds of, it's a irritating part of becoming more of yourself, because people need others that are showing the way of how to be more themselves. And so whether you like it or not, you're going to be getting that kind of feedback from your environment, from your coworkers, from your children, from your friends. And so this is Yogi Bhajan. He says, now let us talk facts. Many of you, the majority of you, and some of you are basically fundamentally made to believe, to be afraid to be a leader. Because leader means taking the risk. Leader means going from the finite to the infinite. Leader means putting the self on the side and jumping for all sides. Leader means not reaching, but reaching out. There's a humongous unknown in the life of a leader. It's humongous. It's huge. May I tell you something? There is no ugliness in this world when you are limited. The only thing that's ugly is when you are limited. You are ugly. That is the only ugliness you have to face. That is why saying to you yesterday that a leader is to be led and a leader is to lead into the unknown, and Mother Nature has to teach you this as my mother taught me that. Leadership is a personal ecstasy, and it doesn't require multivitamins. It requires a momentum, a moment, and a movement of your personal courage, of your spirit. It's your character. It's your basic character to be a leader, not a liar. It is your basic character to be a giver, not a scoundrel. It is your basic character to be firm, not shaky. Your faculty of characters are all good, but you have the choice to be, not to be, or to be just to be. Little post-Shakespearean for you. To be, not to be, or to be just to be. To be, not to be, or to be just to be. And I forgot, so we're starting our rehearsals for A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I forgot how much Midsummer Night's Dream is like that Leonardo DiCaprio movie, Inception. So this is going to be pretty good. I'm very excited about this. We're performing A Midsummer Night's Dream. You will see many faces you know and some that you don't. Cameos, the surprise cameos at A Midsummer Night's Dream at Rama Festival. Playing only one night, for good or for evil, at Rama Festival this summer. And we've always wanted to do a Rama Shakespeare Festival, so we are very excited to be doing this. But so you have the option to be, not to be, or to be just to be. Riddle me that one. Okay, so we're gonna, what'd you say? That's Yogi Bhajan. That is not Shakespeare. To be, not to be, or to be just to be. All right, so this is an auric capacity, and one of the things that you could practice, this is my offering to you today and in this solstice window. You could practice just taking the heat for things and not trying to blame others. This will change your life. Nothing like getting blamed for stuff that you didn't do to make you a better leader. Or getting blamed for stuff that you didn't do, but because you're a leader, it's still your responsibility. But you can take this into your personal life a million times because, as a woman, we contain the relationship. So if there's problems in the relationship, you contain the relationship. Your aura contains the relationship. So if there's problems in the relationship, and women don't like this. It pisses them off. But you got to, if you really want to change things, you've got to take some responsibility. You're allowing for that behavior in your aura. Or you're even encouraging it. This is another level of the stuff. You're encouraging the behavior in some subconscious way. Or as a parent, Yogi Bhajan, the mothers would come and be like, or the parents would come and be like, I had this problem, my kids, this, that, and the other thing did. And Yogi Bhajan would always, which again, not popular in parenting culture, your kid has no problem, you have a problem. Just like that gluten-free mom. That kid does not have a gluten allergy. That mom has a problem. She's neurotic and she's not dealing with her problem. She's created a neurotic kid. Now, again, not popular in the discourse. Same thing in the business world. If you got a problem with the culture in your business, you got a problem. It's your problem. If you're one of the leaders of that business, it's your problem. We met the COO of Facebook, Sheryl, what's her name, Sandberg? Is that her name? She's got a problem on her hands because that thing is being held in her aura. Looks like they might have gotten past it, but these are that's you got to look at it that way. And most leaders, people don't want to take that kind of responsibility. So but the thing about it is that the pain of not stepping up actually is much more painful than the pain of having that kind of responsibility. And so I think one of the best things you can do is fall on the sword as much as possible in your relationships. As a parent, fall on the sword. Take the hit. If you're big enough to take the hit, then people are going to respect you, especially the people who know that you didn't do it. And then eventually, even the people who thought you did something, they'll probably come around too if you really start to take the hit. I posted that thing on my social media. Let whoever say whatever about you. It's such a good spiritual practice. Who cares? If you're big enough, if your aura is big enough to handle that, then you're going to start to live in a much different way. So that's I'm encouraging everyone to just take the hit. Are you big enough to take the hit? Take it. For whoever you're, and people are going to respect you in a whole nother way. You're going to become a much more kind of magnetic person because you're not always blaming others and defending others. Eckhart kind of says it this way, Eckhart Tolle. He says, if you can practice, give yourself a couple weeks of just not defending anything. Somebody accuses you of something, this kind of thing. Like I had a business situation in 2015, 16, where, some people were being assholes. But instead of, I never said anything. I just let them run the thing out, and people make themselves look bad. So you just let people run the thing and blame you. And, look, the lady always doth protest too much. If you're the one who's like, oh, cool, you take the hit. Let anybody think whatever they want. And then your character, your caliber, your aura will speak for itself. It's a great spiritual practice. But in the Eckhart scene, the way he says it is basically just don't defend. For a month, for 40 days, don't defend anything. Which is, you want to talk about rigorous spiritual practice, because basically when you start to look at everything you say and do, almost all of it is a defense mechanism. Do we get that? Almost everything we say and do is somehow defending ourselves from having to take the hit. And if you stop doing that, you become really interesting. And any real leader, that's what they're doing. They're just like, I'm big enough for people to blame me for things. I'm big enough for people to slander me. I'm big enough for people to gossip about me. I'm big enough for people to, that means people are paying attention. Sometimes I'm shocked at what people are paying attention to. I'm like, wow. I like to throw things in the discourse just to, see what people are really paying attention to, because this is how, and the more you kind of get this, the more you're going to have what Yogi Bhajan calls a personal ecstasy. Leadership is a personal ecstasy, so it's for you. It's selfish. Don't you want to have that personal ecstasy? It's a good feeling. All right, so we're going to work on it a little bit.